Hey guys, John Lee Dumas here, founder and host of EO Fire, and you're listening to Bravepreneur Parents Academy with ldquo.
Welcome to Bravepreneur Parents Academy, where the world's most inspiring entrepreneurs reveal their most defining childhood moments and share their legacy for raising brave little heroes who will grow up to change the world. And now, he still reads comic books under the blanket at bedtime. Please welcome your host, best-selling author, award-winning speaker, and self-confessed geek dad, ldquo. You know, like the hotel in Vegas? Yeah, no, that's really his name. ldquo.
Hey friends, welcome back to another edition of the Bravepreneur Parents Academy. Today, I'm about to blow your mind with this young man right here that I have on the other line. They call him Mark Minard, but I call him Superman. I call him the Wizard. This guy just delivered the most amazing package through the mail to me that I've ever received before. Mark is the author of The Story of You, Transforming Adversity into Adventure, Taking Your Dreams to the Next Level and Beyond. And those aren't just words with Mr. Minard. He delivered me, check this out, a treasure chest. Okay? I didn't even know they made those anymore. You know, he delivered me a treasure chest with his book inside. This guy has a flair for the dramatic. He has a flair for theater, but it's not just sizzle. There is real substance behind Mark's message, Mark's mission, and Mark's story. I was moved when I received that package. It's an honor and a privilege to be talking to this young man right here. Without further ado, let me get out of the way. Mr. Mark Minard, welcome.
Balaji, thank you for that amazing intro. Wow, the Wizard, that makes me think of that Fred Savage 80s movie, man. If I'm being compared to that, then I've already peaked.
Yeah, it's all downhill from here. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you. I'm sorry about that. Mark, you are the owner and co-founder of DreamShine.
Yes, sir.
Which proudly serves individuals with special needs. So already, you know, hats off to you. What an amazing cause. In your spare time, you're also a husband to a beautiful, beautiful young lady and a father of 5. So, you know, you got a lot of free time on your hands.
Yeah. Yes, I got enough to have a basketball team.
Oh, my gosh. That is amazing. And over the past year, Mark has been co-hosting an amazing podcast. It's called the Elevating Beyond podcast. The content is off the meter. I've been listening to it. You guys need to subscribe to that one right now. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's step back. Let's get to know who this Mark guy really is. So, Mark, first and foremost, tell us a little bit about DreamShine. In your book, you mention it as your 1,000-mile journey.
Yes, sir.
What is DreamShine? What is this? It's a cool name. What does it mean?
Yeah. You know, the name it combined to be where dreams shine on. And I wish I had some awesome story for how I came up with a name. I need to come up with one. It just kind of came to me one day. And I'm like, DreamShine, that actually sounds cool. And then we came up with where dreams shine on. But it's a company out here in Ohio that serves individuals with special needs. And, you know, the book dives into the journey more, but I really share the experience of at the age of 26, seeing a huge need out here for something for individuals with special needs to have more options. Because at that time, their only options after high school was to kind of go to these really institutionalized settings. They were called the workshops. They were like giant warehouses with fluorescent lights. Their only options were to put machine parts together, or they were given crayons and a piece of paper. And that was basically it. And just from having some family members, actually my niece that had autism, and just being in the field, working in special education, and continuing to see when my students were graduating, that was their only option, was to go to these kind of, they weren't abused, but it was just that the only option was these kind of really dreadful looking institutionalized type warehouses. And I figured, at least all of us, Balaji, like we get options. We can choose to drop out of high school, to graduate, to work at McDonald's, to go to college, whatever it may be. At least we have options. For these individuals, they really didn't have any, and most of them could not stay home alone. Their parents had to work. Even though they were adults, they still need care for them. A lot of them actually need help with toileting, with feeding. So this was almost like the only place that they could take them. So we just kind of really started from seeing that need and spent a good year really researching all the state rules and got certified. And again, at the age of 26, we were about to open up. We had all of our certifications. We were good to go. We made our office was actually in a storage shed at that time. My brother had purchased a campground, had like an extension cord running out to my fax machine. I think they had scanners. I don't even know if scanners were starting to be invented back then, but and we were like printing our brochures on some like really old print shop program and like photocopying them and just mailing them out. And I get a call from high up at the state, and a lady who I don't mention her name, but she told me she works next to the governor, made that very clear and told me why we should not open DreamShine. And at first I was like looking around kind of confused, like, is this a joke? And I realized, it wasn't. I'm like, well, like, what is this, the mafia, or like, what's going on here? And how did you get my number? And she said the state has been doing it like this for 40 some odd years. And the state and the county own all the programs, and they don't want private programs coming in and disrupting the system, is what they called it. Basically, they controlled all the funding and wanted to keep it going to them, sadly. And told me that it would be in our best interest not to open, basically.
Wow.
And,
that does sound like the mafia, by the way.
She said she was doing me a favor. I didn't get any like cut off horse heads in my bed or anything like that. But when I got off the phone, rather than it was intimidating, but it really just fueled our passion even more to know, wow, there's more of a need for this. God's really calling us to advocate for these individuals more than we even knew. If they're already intimidated by a 26-year-old kid whose office is in a storage shed that's sending out photocopied brochures of what we have, what we want to create. And as I really talk about that 1,000-mile journey, it just goes through the whole story of my sister moving out here and how we started it and everything we went through. No matter what anyone's wanting to do in their life, you face all different levels of adversity. And if we flash forward about 8.5 years later, what was supposed to be impossible is now a 2.5 acre DreamShine campus. And we have a log home, a waterfront lodge. It's all wheelchair accessible. Our individuals can all fish. We have a pond stocked with fish. We have like ballroom dancing, massage therapy, sports therapy. We created a job program. We make candles. Our individuals, we have an online store. They can earn paychecks. And we have about 35 individuals with a variety of special needs that attend Monday through Friday now.
Get out of town.
Yeah, and about 14 people on our staff, too.
Seriously.
That's right.
Get out. This is like, okay, the name of the foundation is DreamShine. This sounds like a dream. This sounds like one of those things where someone might say, oh, wouldn't it be nice if, wouldn't it be nice if someone did something like this one day, or someday I'll build something like that. You actually went out at 26 and built someday. You went out and took that action. I got to ask you a question, though, Mark.
Sure.
And this is a big one. Why?
Ooh, that is a good question.
And let me tell you why I'm asking that, because I want to unpack this a little bit for our listener. In your book, you talk a lot about the importance of why.
Yes.
On your podcast, you talk a lot about the importance of why. And what you're doing, again, hats off, salute to you. I don't know anyone that would not give you a pat on the back, give you a hug and say thank you for doing this. But for you at the age of 26, goodness, you could have gone into, any number of careers and probably made a good living, quote unquote good living financially.
Sure.
A lucrative living versus deciding to climb this next to impossible mountain in an area where a lot of folks didn't even want you to begin with. Why?
Yeah. And a lot of sleepless nights and, a lot of hours. That's for sure. Honestly, it came back to seeing those different individuals in those environments, in those workshop settings, and knowing that that was literally their only option. So when I talk about a why, whatever it is, if it's your marriage, if it's raising your children, if it's creating your own company, anything that's important to you, it's, really following what I say God put in my heart to really help speak up for these individuals that couldn't advocate for themselves and their family members. I'm not a lawyer, but I had to spend a good year just researching all the Medicaid rules and laws for the state of Ohio for us to become certified, because that's where the state tried to fabricate audits on us. I mean, it got out of hand, and I had to, it's sad how out of hand it got. But if I didn't have that why, to realize that this isn't just about me or a company, this is about each individual with special needs to have a place to go to and to have options. And for their, just the look on their family members, their parents' faces, knowing their sons or daughters are able to come somewhere where they're actually happy and they have choices, was enough to keep that passion, which people confuse what passion really means, because it actually means to suffer, was to be able to really suffer and have all those sleepless nights and go up against the state and the governor and show them they're going to have to be investigated by the whole federal government. I mean, we're talking about billions of dollars of funds that come through for this state for Medicaid as well. Hopefully I don't get sniped out or something while I'm talking. But, it was really scary. It didn't happen overnight. And if I did not have that why, and really be able to think of the individuals that this was going to continue to help, then there's no way I could have persevered through it all.
By the way, Mark, I don't like your definition of passion. I think I like the conventional definition. So passion is energy, excitement, enthusiasm, epic theater music, maybe a car chase. I prefer that definition of passion. Your definition of passion is a little bit scary to me.
You know what? They actually can go together. It's just where people get confused, and where I've worked with and mentored and coached and stuff, a bunch of different leaders and inspiring entrepreneurs, is they assume that that's the way, if you're doing what your dream is, that it should be like that every day. And they're like, if they're going through hard times, they're like, I must not be following my calling. Like, I didn't wake up with the Rocky soundtrack playing and throwing air punches in the air today.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, that's not passion. It's not just suffering. It really means that you really care. And people imagine you're passionate, you're an extrovert and you're out there cheering and jumping, and that's fine. That's you want to be passionate in different ways about things, but really it's not tied to just a feeling. It's more of a foundational, connected to your why, to be able to really persevere and kind of manifest these fruits from what you're working on. So hopefully that's a little more uplifting. I'm not trying to make it like a depressing thing. It's worth the suffering to see the 35 individuals in this 2.5 acre campus,
I mean, Mark, you've used a lot of words that are really evocative, visceral. They kind of charge up these, not just feelings. You use the word feelings. Even that in and of itself is such an important word, because sometimes some of us are clear on that why. And we're going to go back in just a minute to talk about how people can find that why and how you found yours. But some of us are clear on our why. Okay, Mark, we're at the beginning of that 1,000-mile journey. And we're passionate, we're focused, we're determined. But then we get a week in, a month in, maybe even a year in, we start to get tired, we start to get fatigued, Mark.
Yeah.
And some days we wake up and we're not feeling it, Mark. That feeling of excitement and energy and determination, some days it isn't there.
That's right.
How do you get out of bed and still move forward on those days?
Yeah, first of all, it's knowing that that's normal is one thing, because what can happen to us is we can think, wow, there must be something wrong with me because I'm not feeling like it's okay today. I don't feel like getting out of bed. I'm feeling beat down. And again, that's just a feeling. Our good man Eric Thomas talks about principles versus feelings a lot too. And you have to go back to that foundational why of understanding what it is. Like, if you were to give up, who all would you be affecting? So if you don't feel like it, like, make a list of whatever it is. If it's it can be anything with a company, leadership, if you're working as a member in a church, any job, as a husband, a wife, a father, a mother, like any area, you're not going to feel great every day, every moment. But if you were to give up, you should start making a list of, if I quit, like everyone listening, whatever you're focusing on right now, pull it out a list and write down, if I was to quit, whatever it may be, who will this affect? And when you make that list, start thinking of everyone that would be affected if you really were to quit and give up. And when I did that and I got like halfway down the list, I had like 15 different things written down.
Yeah.
That was enough to keep me going, and be like, I can't, this is bigger than me, this isn't just about me. And that kind of builds that passion back up that we might need to keep persevering through it all. 'Cause, we see the success with so many people after they've put in years and years of behind the scenes, the passion behind the scenes. Then you see that extroverted passion of them getting the award or whatever.
Yeah. I was looking at the website DreamShine.org. Or DreamShine.co, I think, also goes to the same site. I was looking at it and I was watching your intro videos. The colors are beautiful. The lodge that you've been, the waterfront lodge, oh my goodness, it looks amazing. You see all these folks there just really being alive, living out loud and being part of activities. It looks amazing. I think almost anyone would like to say, yeah, I built that. But the 8 years leading up to that, the time when you guys were ready to open the doors and you didn't have a building, you didn't have that lodge in place, all the struggles leading up to that, we don't necessarily see all that.
Yeah.
We just kind of see the after, and we're like, oh yeah, that's great. I would have done the same thing too, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah, no. And even as going through the year of growing a team and learning from having 1 to 2 team members, then having 5, 6, then 10, then administrative, there's a lot to learn about leadership, which I've written in here about too, from failures that I've made and lessons that I've learned along the way too, to really build the right culture. Because I used to think, oh, cool, you care about people with special needs, you have experience, awesome, this is going to be great. And then I found out it wasn't so great. And, we even had people that were really close to us betray us. And it hurts a lot, especially when you care so deeply about something. And that's a whole other area where, you have to go back to that list of your why to really keep hanging on, and then trusting God that he put this in you, to learn wisdom and experience and just really keep moving onward. Because it's, and I'm not trying to be dramatic and make everyone want to give up or anything, because it's definitely worth it to keep getting to that next level. And, you know, where much is given, much is required. And eventually your fruits will speak louder than words, and you'll start to see those fruits for all the hard work that you have put in over the years.
I love that. I love that. Mark, I want to kind of take our friends back a little bit so we can have a better understanding of how you actually found your why. Okay, so some of our friends, they know what their why is. Maybe they're already working on it. Others, they kind of have an inkling of what their why is, but maybe they haven't found the courage or the right timing or the resources to take that first step. But there's some of us haven't yet found that why. Could you take us back, Mark, to real early when you were 17 years old? Talk to us about that fateful day.
Yes. And, oh man. Yeah, it basically, I woke up in a jail cell, literally, like my eyes jolted open, and I was looking around. I had no idea what had happened or how I had gotten there. There was some big, huge dude with this giant beard next to me, and a police officer came to the door and called my name. I went outside and found out I was in jail in the detox room, and they took my mugshot and started explaining to me what had happened, that I had gotten a DUI, and I still wasn't remembering what had happened or how I had gotten there. And all of a sudden my face showed up on the computer screen, and the whole left side was like a giant bruise. And I found out that my jaw had been broken and my left eye socket had been fractured. And really, you know, and I say this really to help give people hope that you can change from where you are, because I was not choosing to hang around with the right people throughout high school. I was continuing to get into a lot of trouble, involved in a lot of drugs and alcohol. And I did manage to graduate early somehow. And at the age of 17, I was living with these guys in a trailer park that were older than me, cooking as a cook at like a Harley Davidson restaurant, and just partying all the time. Basically, they had taken me home from a party. They're not the type of friends that normally do that. Was kind of how messed up that I sadly was. And somehow I managed to slither into my car late at night and drove it was in Colorado, to Minard, which is open all night to get a late night snack, I guess. You know, in all honesty, thank God I didn't get in a wreck and hurt someone or kill someone, God forbid. But I did. People think I got my face hurt from a car accident. I didn't. I was in the drive-thru from the police report I read, and I briskly started to fall asleep or pass out, I guess, and I briskly rear-ended the truck in front of me. Basically, not even a fender bender, just lightly tapped it, and it was this big, huge cowboy dude that was like 35 years old and had warrants for assault in other states. And he just beat my face in like a catatonic punching bag. The witness reports really said that, like, I just kind of like catatonically was sitting there like sludged over my seat, and he just had a field day on my face. And, you know, getting back to your question with a why is I had to call my parents, you know, and hadn't been talking much. This is your son. I'm in jail. I need you to pick me up. Definitely a low point, you know, and I had been putting them through a lot over the years too, you know, being a father myself. I really respect them for how much they put up with and still always love me. But when I got back to their house, you know, I really was hitting that rock bottom, and my why really started with that. No, I had known God my whole life, but I just wasn't seeing any, whatever people's beliefs are, that I had known God, but I wasn't seeing any of the fruits in my life because of the choices I was making. And I was having that victim mindset. I was still even having it after I got beat up and was at my parents', and I was thinking, okay, the court's going to feel sorry for me because I got beat up. when the judge saw how high my blood alcohol level was and that I should have been legally dead and could have killed other people.
Oh my gosh.
He was like, could have cared less. We like had pictures, and the guy didn't even show up that beat my face in because he skipped state, but they didn't care. They were just like, no. And they gave me the maximum of everything. Lost my license for a year, breathalyzers every other day. I had to ride my bike to and from work, probation officer. But I started thinking, okay, wait a second. I really could have killed someone or myself, and God actually brought me through this for a reason. So rather than this being the worst thing, even though it was hard at the time, I kind of started to realize it was a blessing and wanted to start turning my life around. Got into at that point to exercise and going to college. Before I never thought I was smart enough to even go. So I really believe that too. And that this situation really motivated me to go and do something more with my life. And part of it was fear of ending back up in jail again. Part of my why started with, I was a little terrified that I was so close to being right back in jail at any time if I didn't change who I hung out with and my whole lifestyle. So, and it wasn't an overnight change. I always like to point that out to people too. It was kind of a transformation that continually took place over time. But I got to where I read my first book from page to page, from cover to cover. I had never read a full book. I managed to get book reports done and do the bare minimum for school, but I randomly read a copy of Pet Sematary. It's kind of surprising to people because it's not a personal development book, but it opened my mindset up to a whole new level of life of reading, and I don't know, that started to really be part of my transformation. Then from there, I've gone on to read tons of other books, leadership based and everything, but that's what sort of pushed me back into go to college and start realizing like I can do this, and start really believing in what God was putting in me versus what I was falsely thinking about myself. So my why kind of started at my rock bottom.
Gosh, that is a very sobering story. I'm glad that guy didn't kill you, but that's a very scary story, and also grateful, as you pointed out, that you didn't actually have a wreck or run into anyone.
Yeah.
You made it out of that situation. You went to college, and you were turning things around. I'm really appreciative of the fact that you pointed out this wasn't an instant night and day change. Because a lot of us may feel like we're on our way up from that rock bottom. We're in the process of becoming the better version of ourselves, but we might be frustrated that we're not moving along as quickly as we would like. For you, it was a process.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the huge things to point out, because people can believe that and then fall right back into that victim mindset and downward spiral, thinking, okay, I'm out drinking again. I must be, I'm never going to change. And the thing is,
never going to change. Yeah.
You are changing. It's just, even me, I still at times would hang out with my old friends and drink and stuff. But this time I was seeing it differently, and I would actually start to feel more guilty about it, as before I just felt numb. So I didn't look at that as, okay, I should completely give up. I started gradually being, and then I would kind of have a reality check, like, dude, it was almost like the Twilight Zone, like nothing had changed with any of them, and I'm looking around like I can end up right back in jail. Yeah. So I just kept gradually doing it less and less and less, and getting more into exercise and into college and stuff, and decided to stop hanging around with those people. But, it was a process for sure. So if anyone is going through that, I'm sure people listening are in different levels of their life. One thing to know is it's okay if you are falling back into things at times. Just keep looking at the bigger picture of it keep moving forward one day, one step at a time.
Man, that strikes me. I want to point out that you changed your environment after you made the decision to change. After that fateful occurrence, you made the conscious decision to change, and then you started to change your environment. You had a few slides back, but for the most part, you were moving in that positive direction of college. But I want to ask you just very quickly about that collegiate environment. Some would say after you made it to college, coming from this experience you came from, he's in the clear. He's made it. But you talked about actually experiencing anxiety.
Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit about that. What was that about?
Sure. Yeah. I think a lot of it was I was so used to almost getting intoxicated as part of being socially acceptable. And I was like the guy that was the life of the party when I was intoxicated.
Yeah.
And then when I wasn't, I just was like feeling incredibly overwhelmed and just all kinds of different things. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but I literally felt like I was having a heart attack in the middle of a college seminar. And just out of nowhere, like my face started sweating, and I honestly was like thinking, should I call 911 right now? Is everyone going to think I'm crazy? And I just remember like pretending like I had to leave and go to the bathroom and splashing water on my face and couldn't figure out what was going on. And I started to do some research, and at that time I had been much more into reading and getting my own personal development, and did some research on kind of anxiety and panic attacks, and was able to find out that was what I was experiencing. And by understanding it, at least, it didn't 100% go away, but I at least knew that I wasn't actually having a real heart attack. And it still would happen a lot, and a lot of it was like I was trapped in my own head and in my own thoughts, and everything was amplified and accelerated, and I would overanalyze what people were thinking about me. I was just thinking too much, and it would like spiral into that. And at this time, I wasn't turning to the drugs and alcohol as an escape. So it was almost like I had to tell myself, you got to deal with this, and I would be like, oh, we're going to get through this. Come on. And I'd read some scripture, like no weapon formed against me will prosper. I'd have to say it out loud. Sometimes I'd make sure there wasn't people all around me so I didn't look completely crazy. But in all honesty, I think there's a battle in your mindset that takes place. And as this transformation was happening, I say the enemy can attack you, and a lot of times you can be your own worst enemy. And I just had to put that into something else, focus not to dwell on it. And I got through college. I did drop speech class 3 times and now co-host a podcast. So
take that.
That's right.
Fear.
That's right. So that's why I speak so much and write so much on fear and everything, is I have fought it, and almost I still deal with it like anyone else ongoing, but I understand it more, and I can relate to it through experiences and show other people, whatever they're going through in their own form of it. Here's some weapons that I've used to fight it that you can use in your own way to fight it too.
I love that. And in your chapter where you talk about this, the Being Brave chapter, you have a quote from Nelson Mandela. It says, "I learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it."
Love that. I love that.
It's a powerful quote, particularly coming from Mr. Mandela, considering what he went through and how people sometimes seem to think that he didn't have fear.
Yeah.
He always carried himself with such composure. He always seemed to have full control of his faculties.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, this guy can't be ruffled no matter what they do to him. But in actuality, it was the opposite. he had massive fear. He just learned to overcome it.
Exactly. And I think that is one of the most important things for people to understand is everyone deals with fear, because you see people on TV and stuff or whatever significantly successful people might be doing and think, well, I can't be like them because they're fearless up there. They don't get worried. And the truth is they do, just like everyone else. But where courage comes in is you're feeling that fear, but you don't let it stop you from the actual doing part. That's the difference, because you're going to feel it, but when you do it anyway, you realize it's never usually as bad as you thought it was. And the next thing you know, you're becoming courageous.
You know, Mark, you talk a lot about the power of focus, and it ties into this whole fear thing. So considering we all have this fear that we're carrying around, it usually is louder when we're trying to step out of our comfort zone or trying to pursue that why or do something that's important and that's not status quo. So when we have that fear and we're trying to act anyway, despite the fear, it certainly is useful if we're able to have that, maybe that superpower to focus on the positive thing ahead of us instead of focusing on the fear that's pulling us back. I wonder if you could talk a little bit. You gave a great example about when you were dating and when you first got married to your wife.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are of different races. Talk a little bit about how you learned a lesson about focus from that experience.
Yeah. A lot of focus and perspective. My wife and I are an interracial couple. She is actually from Sierra Leone, West Africa. Much more, she is, all the looks from our kids definitely come from her, that's for sure.
So this is West Africa, Ohio, or?
That's right.
West Africa, the real West
Sierra
Africa.
Sierra Leone, West Africa, like where Blood Diamond, the movie. Yeah, her mom still lives there too. We got the opportunity to visit, and that's a whole other story. But yeah, so we did meet in Ohio, and she had been in America for 17 years. So she had lived a lot of her life here. And we met actually in the field. And when we first started dating, I would think about it a lot as us being an interracial couple. We'd go out and seem to be everywhere we went, we get all these stares, from like sometimes older people, sometimes girls or sometimes other dudes would be staring me down. And I'd be looking like, what's your problem? And her and I would talk about it, and we'd be like, geez, everywhere we go, they're staring at us. And people, were like, we thought these times had ended. But what I realized was over time, we've been married for, oh my gosh, hope she doesn't. We've been married for 9 years.
Get it right.
And I should keep a little note of that. And over time, honestly, like now when we go out, no one stares at us anymore. The only thing that changed was our perspective. Maybe some people do still stare. The thing is, we don't pay attention or notice anymore because I'm not dwelling on that. So before, it was probably my own self-esteem issues about it. And I would almost project it out that people were going to be staring at us. So that would be like all that I was trying to focus on. So maybe one person's giving me a weird look out of 30 people in a room, and I'm focused on that. And I was probably giving out a face that wasn't looking very nice either, because I was already like having that chip on my shoulder.
I understand.
So when my perspective changed, both of ours did, we realized, wow, like we changed our mindset and the circumstances actually followed. Now people don't stare at us. But the thing is, were they really all along? It's all in our perspective of what we choose to focus on.
We're talking about, folks, if you're just tuning in, we're talking to the great Mark Minard, author of The Story of You, Transforming Adversity into Adventure, Taking Your Dreams to the Next Level and Beyond. The topic that we're really digging into right now is your why. Mark obviously has an amazing calling. He's worked for at least 8 years on serving people with special needs. And we're trying to figure out, for those of us out here who either have a why and are struggling to bring it to life, or we haven't yet put our finger on what that why is. We're trying to unpack how we can do that. Now, Mark, just one more thing on this focus thing. From what I understand, when you were a kid, you were diagnosed with ADHD. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so you were diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorders. Did I get that right?
Yeah, yep. You nailed it.
Okay. And you dropped speech class 3 times.
Yes.
In college. You had to deal with anxiety attacks.
Yeah.
And all of this is on top of the horrific situation that happened when you were 17 years old, had a drinking issue, and ended up being beaten within an inch of your life and sent to jail. With all this stuff, this is your resume, okay, coming in. You're not supposed to be this guy that's getting stuff done, coaching people, doing speaking events, writing amazing books, running a foundation, co-hosting a podcast. You're not supposed to be able to do all that stuff. How do you, for those of us who feel like we're not born with a silver spoon in our mouths, or we aren't born with the charisma that other people have, we're not born with the IQ or the EQ or whatever it is we feel like we're lacking. How can you tell me, how do we make our limitations our best weapons?
Yeah, sure. It's the thing is, everyone actually is born with everything that they need, but then they just kind of, the world can ruin it for them. And no one is born with, there is no magic thing, that charisma or anything that is the secret to success. In all honesty, it comes down to grit and determination and willpower. And there's the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset.
Speak on it now.
Yeah, and the fixed mindset it puts everything only on results. So it's like, if I got an A, I'm doing good. If I got a C, I'm a failure. It's not, I can do better. People think I'm a failure. You know, it's the difference between failing does not make you a failure. The growth mindset is able to understand, and this is everyone listening, you aren't a failure. The situation you may have failed can actually be transformed into wisdom if you use it to learn and understand from it, and know that there's no one else out there that perfectly. I knew kids in college that were way smarter than me that didn't graduate because when they had to start studying or doing those longer term papers, they weren't willing to put in the hours. I had to put more hours in than them to study, but I learned to push through it all and persist with that willpower. One more thing to throw out there is I got a D in creative writing, and literally had, and I love to read. That's why I took it. We read this awesome book, Things They Carried, and my professor, I didn't agree that I saw the analogies and metaphors in a different way. And I guess you couldn't be creative because if you didn't agree with hers, you got a D. And she literally wrote on one of my papers, you have no understanding of that which it takes to be an author. And I would hear that all the time as I was battling writing this book.
Look at that.
What's cool now is, last time I checked, she doesn't have a published book out there.
Stop it.
You know, and I say that to inspire people, in all honesty, because I think that's why I'm able to help relate to people, because no matter where they are, it can give them hope that it's not the magical silver spoon and charisma that you're born with. It's really the willpower. And if you're willing to put the hours in, then you really can do whatever is in your heart to do. And you can discover your why along the way.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I recall from your story how after graduating college, you went to work for your brother. You ended up being exposed to the opportunity of working with adults with special needs. And through that, you discovered this calling.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, that's another thing, is to help people, because some people think they have to have the perfect life plan or business plan, or I should know my why by now. I didn't even know what a why was when I was in college. I changed my major from landscape architecture to a BS in psychology, studying brain physiology. By the way, I got a D in in biology in high school, and then got an A in brain physiology in college because I actually started being interested in it. But I didn't, even when I graduated, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I did know I was going to graduate from college, and I'm not saying everyone has to go to college. It just depends what is best for you. And when I finished school, that to me, that was a big accomplishment because I just didn't ever feel like I was smart enough before. So that kind of built some confidence for me. But when I was done, I wasn't like, okay, cool, I have the list of A, B, C, and D of what I'm going to do for my life plan. I didn't have a clue, and that's okay. I just kept working. I came and did labor. I did tile with my brother. I got into the field working with special needs, and I just kept following where I felt I was being led to go. And that's kind of, it's maybe for some people it's different, but I know a lot of people ask me, they're like, I don't know exactly what I want to do or what I want to be. And it's like, just keep being the best you. Don't connect it just to a job or a position. Keep being the best you that you can be, and other things will continue to follow.
Brilliant. I think that's really the most important thing for folks who are still trying to put their finger on that why. It's going out and doing something to improve yourself, doing something to serve others. That might not end up what you do for a lifetime, but you never know what sort of connections, what sort of inspirations are going to come from those experiences.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant. Folks, we've been talking to Mark Minard. We got to let him go because he does have a lot of folks that he's serving, his family, and the beautiful adults over there at the Waterfront Lodge. Before we let you go, Mark, we need one more minute because we got to put you through the lightning round. Are you ready to go through the lightning round, Mark?
Uh-oh. Let's do it.
All right. He's brave. We'll see how brave he is at the end of this, though. Mark, who was your favorite superhero growing up?
Man, that is a good question. I want to say if Fred Savage the Wizard was a superhero. Man, it was, I love the old He-Man cartoons. If you can consider him a superhero, yes. I had all the action figures and everything. Yes. And then in my later, early middle school, it would have been the Batman with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson.
Wow, very specific. Okay, I like that. You get bonus points on that. Very cool. What about your favorite cartoon growing up?
Man, I had a lot that I liked. I loved He-Man. I loved, oh gosh, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the cartoon. I'm thinking The Goonies, and that's a movie. Oh man,
The Goonies was enough of a classic, though. I grew up in Nigeria, and I watched The Goonies. That's how popular it was. So.
Oh, did you really?
Awesome. I love that movie. In fact, I'm gonna have to introduce it to my kids. They haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you got to show it to them. Maybe that can make up for me just drawing a complete blank on a cartoon right there. I just throw in The Goonies.
No, but He-Man is a great answer on superhero. We love that. Did you play video games as a child? And if so, what was your favorite?
You bet. There was an old school game on Nintendo, Paperboy.
I've heard of Paperboy. I haven't played it, though.
Oh, it was good stuff. You were a dude on a bike, and you would throw newspapers into the mailbox. and then dogs would chase you, and it was the old Nintendo. You'd have to try to not hit the old lady with your newspaper and stuff like that. Nice. It was fun stuff.
The good old days. Mark, what was one embarrassing moment for you as a child? One of those moments that maybe just still sticks with you.
Oh man, I'm sure there was a lot. There was probably more of them than I can remember, and maybe I've allowed them to kind of blur out.
Mark has blocked them out of his memory. We don't want you to have to get back to the psychiatrist's couch.
I recall tell you as I can tell you as a as I was older with that anxiety and panic attacks and stuff. I mean, I wasn't quite a child, I was like at college age, but I mean, there was one time I was sweating so bad from it. I can laugh now, and it like literally looked like I just took a shower.
Wow.
And the person next to me, I mean, there's like a pool of sweat on my desk. And
wow.
I had to just get my stuff and bolt out of there. And I seriously ended up dropping that class at that time because I was so embarrassed to go back. But now I can look back at it and laugh because I could just imagine if I was in that class and there was like this dude next to me and all of a sudden he's like pooling sweat for no reason. Looks like he showered. There's like an inch of
gosh.
He just grabs his book, bolts out, and then never comes back.
That's pretty painful. That is pretty painful.
Yeah.
All right, folks. We've been talking to Mark Minard, the author of The Story of You, the best-selling author. I'm claiming that right now.
Love it.
Because the book is just coming out. But if you take a look at this book, this is one of the most beautiful books I've seen. The cover design is amazing. But like I said before, this man is not sizzle. He's steak. There is quality, there is substance behind his story, behind his calling. Mark, why did you call the book The Story of You instead of The Story of Me, as in Mark Minard? Why is it the story of the reader? Yeah,
thanks, Balaji. That's a good question. I appreciate the compliments, man, about the book cover and everything. I love it.
It's beautiful.
Thanks, man. Yeah, because it is not about me. It is about you. This book is about you taking your dreams to the next level and beyond, transforming your adversity into adventure. It's me sharing my experiences through what I have gone through, but it's about you, like, honestly becoming the best you. Because I didn't want it to be like, this is my story. It's once upon the story of you, ... your adventure begins. And I'm going to be so excited to hear people starting to write into me and telling me about the adventures that they do after reading this. Hopefully some of them find a One-Eyed Willie's Treasure or something. That would be cool too. Another Goonies reference.
Love the nerdy references. I got to tell you, I'm looking at the book right now. Mark probably didn't get an A in art class because he's got some drawings of stick figures in this book. And I'm like, if you got an A, I want to talk to your teacher. But I love these hand-drawn figures. They really let you see Mark's personality. They're super easy to understand. I'm taking photographs of them as I go through the book. They're so funny, and I'm going to have to discuss them with my wife after she gets home. This book is a piece of art. I hope you'll pick up 2 copies. Buy one for yourself. Give another one out. It's called The Story of You, Transforming Adversity into Adventure, Taking Your Dreams to the Next Level and Beyond. Mark Minard. Mark, where can folks go to get more information about the book and about DreamShine?
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate it. We just started a landing page for the book. It's just my name, Mark Minard, MarkMinard.net. And it's got all the information for the book, and it's available to purchase there right now. It's getting set up on Amazon and all that good stuff. There's a whole fun realm of the publishing world that I'm learning along the way too. But you can jump right there, and it connects to all my social media. And then we'll bring you to my Facebook page where it has the link to DreamShine. And I love to interact with people. So please feel free to reach out. I honestly will respond. I enjoy it.
Beautiful, beautiful. MarkMinard.net. Check him out. We've talked about the story of you transforming adversity into adventure and finding your why. It's such an important topic, bravepreneurs, for us parents as well as for our kids. Perhaps if I'm lucky, I'll be able to get Mark back onto the show. He is a father of 5 kids, and we might talk a little bit about some parenting stuff and how we can help our kids start their own story as well. Mark Minard, it's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, my good man. I would be honored to come back, and I appreciate it so much.
All right, folks. You are listening to the Bravepreneur Parents Academy. Thank you for being here. Until tomorrow, same time, same place, up, up, And
thanks for supporting my dad's show. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to iTunes. He said hot chocolate is for closers. If you don't subscribe, I don't get hot chocolate. I love hot chocolate.
Fear not. Although this chapter of Bravepreneur Parents Academy has come to its conclusion, we have many more adventures for you and your brave little heroes. Head over to bravequest.me for access to the Brave Quest Journal, an interactive activity playbook that rewards your little ones with points for accomplishing tasks that build character and unleash your child's inner superhero all before bedtime. We look forward to having you join us for more adventures next time on Bravepreneur Parents Academy.